IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Good evening. Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at it now. It's like, oh, there's a little bit of a signal interruption, but there's no way that can be the case. So we're going to go with it one way or another. Welcome, and thank you for stopping by. And I think Wayne just said it's the 358th episode of All Natural Being, and I couldn't kick off my first evening back without thanking my good friend Henry Noel for filling in the month, what was that, the month of October. It's all a blur for me, I got to tell you. Running a couple quarts low. We're going to get into that, but running a couple quarts low in terms of Spinal Fluid is not like, right, you're thinking, oh, Christmas is just around the corner. The holidays are just around here. What should I ask for? Or, like the Easter Bunny. What should I ask the Easter Bunny to bring me? You don't want to ask, I'd like to run a couple quarts low of Spinal Fluid. Just don't believe the hype. But I guess, again, I can't kick off without thanking Henry Noel. And at the bottom of the hour this evening, here's how we're going to play this. For the month of October, I'm going to be on from 8 to 8:30 here on Transitional Radio, from 8 to 8:30. Then from 8:30 to 9, we'll be Thinking Re-Envisioned. Tonight, the second episode of Henry's new show, Thinking Re-Envisioned, will be here. The new platform, as you know, is Transitional Radio. So if you're getting to this on the radio, you know what you typed in to get here. You typed in IPMNation.com/TR now. For Transitional Radio now. They're so crafty over there. Matt, he's on the ball, I got to tell you. So you'll listen in at Transitional Radio, IPMNation.com/TR now for the audio. But then the video, now here's how it works. Brian Brawdy Official is where you can catch the live video feed from 8 to 8:30. And then at 8:30, thanks to the crack staff back at Wayne's command, Wayne Noel, thanks to the crack staff, at 8:30, the audio feed will be interrupted momentarily on IPMNation.com. And then the new video feed for Henry's show, right? It's a different show, as it were, will be on Thinking Re-Envisioned Official, I believe is the name of the address. So we're going to try that for the month of, what are we in? November? Right, the month of November. Then and I've got some big news coming next week. And then some even bigger news, I guess I should say, as to what's going to happen on December 1st. I was just talking to Wayne about it. I think what's going to happen is that Thinking Re-Envisioned will take the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. And then we're going to do either a 9 to 11 or a 9 to a midnight. It's either going to be a 2-hour or a 3-hour live call-in show. You'll be able to dial 833-MINDUPS, 833-MINDUPS. But starting in December, right, unless I blow a gasket, starting in December, it will be from 9 to midnight is what we're thinking. So I want to give you a little bit of an idea of how that's going to work. And, of course, as always, thanks to my good friends at Telestream's Wirecast. Wirecast giving us the ability for the fly-on-the-wall video. Yes, some glitches from time to time, but it's my fault, not their fault. Fly-on-the-wall video is brought to you by the good folks at Wirecast. So here's what's been going on. And again, thank you so much. Let's say good evening to Marcellus and to Rita. How are you, Rita? Susan, nice to see you. Lee, nice to see you as always. Henry, thank you so much. I was just talking about you. Thank you so very much. And for everything you did in this past month, thank you. Yeah, break your leg, not your head. Yeah, I can't afford any more shots to the head. I mean, I wasn't normal before the tumor. Right? Now it's like, oh yeah, try to be normal and combat with the tumor. Marcellus, I have to tell you, even when I'm off, I can't think of the term chop block without thinking about you. Susan, also, hello. I hope you are feeling better and recovering nicely. I've been thinking about you a lot in this past month. So here's the scoop. As you know, I had a little tumor, as tumors go, right? A little tumor, took it out, sprung a leak. They couldn't find the leak. So they thought, oh, what would be like a pretty cool idea? And I wanted to bring a visual, but of course I forgot the visual. I was so busy playing with Wayne. In any event, they decided they were going to put this hose in me, right? This shunt, in an event to try to stop the leaking. Well, spring forward, last month, absolutely brutal. And we figured out what had happened was that the shunt was draining too much spinal fluid. So the headaches, the shakes, the ringing in the ears, the nausea was simply because, you're welcome, my friend, Susan. You're more than welcome. The nausea is because the human body doesn't want spinal fluid in its stomach. I mean, great idea if you don't have a fallback plan, right? You get a shunt, they put that down into the peritoneum. Well, my body rejected the shunt, and it was like, look, you're bat crap crazy if you think I'm going to take this lying down. So it's fought me at every turn. But then we went in for our last meeting, and what's happened over the last month is that every 10 days, they dial me down. Now, it's really kind of cool how they do it, but, I have a shunt, and it's a magnet is all it is. So they have this little thing, this little disc. Let's say it's look like this. They have this little disc, right? And you go in, they put it on the top of your head. It goes click, and it dials in the shunt as to how much spinal fluid it's going to vacuum out of your ventricle or how much it's not. So every 10 days, I go for another adjustment, click, 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 click. And then just last week, I went in, and I'm getting ready to rock, scissor, paper the doctor and say, oh, well, yeah, how about we just turn it off, right? Just being a smart ass as I normally am. And the doctor says, okay, great, why don't we do that? And I go, you're right? You're going to let me rock, scissors, paper? He goes, yeah. I go, you're on. Guess what? I win. And he goes, I got an idea. Let's cut it off. So they cut off the shunt. Now, habitually, what's happened to me, and there's a point to this, there really is, I promise, and hopefully you can use this moving through your daily life. What's happened was they were draining too much spinal fluid. So habitually, every 10 days when they went to do another adjustment, for the next 48 hours, headaches were full on. And I kept saying, okay, well, those headaches, that's good news. Good evening, Matt. Thank you for everything today, brother. I certainly appreciate your help. Hello, Joseph. Can't wait to make that road trip out to Colorado. Thank you for joining us. We're just going over what happens when they put this little magnet on my head. It looks like a skull can, right? Or a hockey puck. They make these adjustments. And what had happened was each time after the adjustment, just brutal headaches, brutal nausea, brutal shakes. I mean, I'd go to drink, and the glass would ricochet up against my teeth while I was trying to drink. Big hit at parties. So what happened is after each adjustment, it was just brutal. But I stuck to the plan of saying, okay, we're just going to go ahead and pull this thing out of me, right? We're going to yank this little hose out. And my theory was, if I felt great after my adjustment from 2 to 3, or 3 to 4, or 4 to 5, or 5 to 6 for that matter, right? Because the goal was to go from a position 2 to position 8 in my head. Well, if I was going to go from position 2, which they left me at for almost a year, 1 year, running a quart and a half, almost a quart and 3/4, 2 quarts, almost 2 quarts low. So the headaches and the shakes and the ringing, just been brutal. But my theory was, if at any point during those adjustments, like if they went from 2 to 3 and I felt great, I would know that I would always be dependent on the shunt, right? Because if they dialed it in and I felt perfect, they'd be like, oh, well, you need the shunt. Sorry, it's going to be with you. So through each adjustment, I was like, no, I'm not going to let it derail me. I'm going to keep going. So every 10 days, religiously, how's the pain? It's great. How's the swelling? Never been better. Never been better. So, right, I just basically, right, no, it's never been better. So they turned the shunt off, turned it off, got all the way to 8, click, no more draining spinal fluid. Next day, I'm all excited, everything's great. Brutal headaches. I mean, Brutal headaches. Good evening, Mary. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us, as always, here at All Natural Being. Brutal headaches. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I said, nope, don't worry about it. Let's just get through this week, right? Keep your eye on the prize. Refuse to lose, all that. Fate's nemesis. Oh, that's right. Fate's nemesis. And what happened was, soon as they turned it off, swelling hit the back of my head. So I started to drain, as we thought. There really is a point to the story. Started to drain some spinal fluid, so the swelling came back. And a couple of the things going on in my life, and you got to love it. The doctors and the people around you, they're all like, oh, you got to watch the stress. Got to take it easy. You need a month of bed rest, because here's the good news. If I make it through to the end of November and I haven't blown a seal, if I haven't vapor locked, if it hasn't killed me, they're going to yank this thing out of me. Now, I know you're thinking, Brian, are you going to want to give up looking like a unicorn? Yeah, I know. It's been a blast. But in any event, if I make it through to the month of November, they're going to yank it out of me. So I'm like, okay, I'll put up with it. I'll put up with it. I'll put up with it. It can swell to be a watermelon, right? I'm going to put up with it. But as the doctors say, oh, you need bed rest. You got to watch the stress. You got to watch this. You got to watch that. And clearly, just given, right? It's the life we all lead. There's all kinds of stress. So I had to deal with a couple different things over the weekend. But here's the point that I wanted to make. Here's how I hope that you can take the pain that I've had these last 2 years, and most certainly these last 4 to 6 weeks, and you can use it. When I was able to put some of these things behind me, when I was able to figure out how I was going to do A and B, and just a couple stressful things I had going on, guess what? Woke up, swelling, totally gone. Totally gone. So what did that tell me? 2 things. One thing it told me, and one thing I hope it should tell you. The one thing it told me is the fluid gathering at the base of my skull is not spinal fluid. Because it's not like miraculously the hole just plugged itself up if it were leaking. The fluid, if it were still leaking, it would still be swollen this morning. I wouldn't have a flat skull in the back. So what does that mean? The stress in my life. People go, oh, stress, it'll kill you. Yes, it absolutely will kill you, because here's what we theorize now. The leak is plugged. I've healed. The doctors are right when they say you're a freak of nature. We never expected you'd be able to pull this shunt out. What we figured out now is that stress is so profound that it causes a physiological change in the muscles surrounding what's called the occipital. It may be called occipital, now that I think about it. The tomato, right? But the muscles at the back of my skull, insert right here, this was all cut away to get at the tumor. But what they theorize now is that stress, when I let myself get stress, the impact is so great that it causes all types of post-operative fluid to go to the particular area where it thinks it's injured. But it's not spinal fluid. It can't be spinal fluid, or it never would have been perfectly flat. So I took care of some of these stresses, got some of these things ironed out, because I have to be honest with you, 72 hours ago, in full truth in advertising, full on, I called the doctor back and I go, I may have been wrong. I never anticipated that the swelling would be this great. I may have been wrong, and I may have to come back in. And the doctor's just great, and Jamie's just great. Hi, Candace. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Susan, please enjoy lying down. Hope you feel better. So I called the doctor back and said, look, I know, right? I was wrong. And Jamie, the doctor's practicing assistant, said, hey, look, go ahead, gut it out. You'll make it to 30 days. If it gets really bad, then you come back in. But you can do this, Brian. So here's what we found out. Stress. Everyone says, try to fight the stress. But when you can't, then your body says, well, I'll fight it for you. And it secreted whatever it needed to at the back where the wound is the greatest. Right? Because it's not been 2 full years. So what does all this mean to you if you've listened to me blather on now for 15 minutes? What are the stresses in your life that are chop blocking, Marcellus, if you're still with us? What are the stresses in your life that are chop blocking you? What are the stresses in your life that are really attacking your physiology? Oxidative stress, all the rest of that, free radicals, blah, 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 right? But philosophically, the moment I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I'll do this. I know exactly what I have to do to remove this stress from my life. I know exactly what it is. 8 hours later, I wake up, and every morning when I'm waking up, I'm like, do I want to reach back there? Do I want to feel what's going on? Woke up, absolutely gone. So my thought is for you gotta watch those stresses because they really are. I'm a walking, talking petri dish, right? I'm a crash test dummy for what happens when you let stress take control of your immune system. So for me, what I realized is there really is something when people say, oh, you got to watch the stress. Oh, you got to take a break. Oh, you have to do this. Oh, don't let the naysayers in. Oh, right? We talk about binge thinking. We talk about all those things. And for a couple days, full on, I was having headaches. I had all these stressors around me, and I was swelling up like a cantaloupe. And which is always fun, right? Because the swelling just puts tension on your skin and pulls your face back around, and it looked like I had an eye lift. No, I have not had plastic surgery. Believe me, right? If I had plastic surgery, there are about 11 different things I think those doctors would try to fix on me, starting with the hair lip. But I can only imagine what these people that look like cat people, when they have so much plastic surgery, they don't even look human anymore. I can only imagine what that tension, what that pulling must feel like because the swelling did that. But the good news, the great news, the phenomenal news is that it was all about the stress. Because, help me with this. If I'm wrong, then it's not like the spinal fluid just stops producing. I'd pancake. I'd be out like that. Check, please. I'm out. Dirt nap. So it can't be spinal fluid. Because if it was, it would always be there. It would always be leaking, right? I'd still have that cantaloupe. So what caused it to go away? What caused it to go away was having surmounted a couple of different things that were stressful in my life. That's what caused it to go away. So without having to run out and book yourself for brain surgery, without having to run out and getting a brain tumor, without having to run out and do all those other things, let me just suggest that if you look at some of the stressors in your life and you address those things, I think your body absolutely wants to help you. I think your body absolutely wants to let you up off the mat. Sorry, Matt, if you're listening. You know what I mean. Don't want anyone saying I'm culturally appropriating the name Matt to mean like a wrestling mat. You get where I'm going. But these stresses that we have, that we let in, right? Because there wasn't anything physical about my life that had changed, right? Whatever it was, I was letting it in. And when I took the steps that I needed to correct those things, swelling, gone. So I've asked you before, is there by chance you have a philosophical brain tumor? Is there something that you have in life that causes you to have a blind spot? If you've turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to your heart's calling, right? If you allow yourself to have your head hijacked, how stressful could that be? Well, let me tell you that it absolutely registered in me. And the moment I addressed those stresses, the moment I fell asleep, 8 hours later, all the swelling was gone. Swelling that had been taunting me, swelling that had literally been stalking me from behind, all gone. So what are some of the stressors that you have in your life? What are some of the things that you could address right now that would allow your immune system to get up off the floor? Brother Wallman, nice to see you. Susan, thank you very much. And I'm sorry to hear about those nerve blocks. Mary says, sometimes I don't even realize that I'm stressed. I have to stop, be still, ask myself. It's absolutely right. Because when we do, and to speaking to Mary's point, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me, right? That rod and thy staff. It could very well be that that's also represents not just a philosophy, but your physiology. That if you let yourself up off the floor, if you stop and do what you can to eliminate the stress, your immune system decides, yeah, it's time to relax. It's time to heal. So what are the blind spots? What is the amnesia? What is it that fate is trying to do to you that keeps you from that type of healing? And what are the stresses in your life that you could stop? Because I absolutely believe now that it's about your philosophical and physiological immune system. And that when you address that, the human body is absolutely amazing. And that you can pull off almost anything if you limit the stresses and you address the stresses that have manifested in your life. Then your immune system's like a great tag team partner. It's like, I'm in. I was talking to my friend Amanda Bobbitt the other day about it. You get to the point where you go, no, I'm going to help my immune system. I'm going to help my own mind. I'm going to do what I can to have to heal. And it begins with my belief system. So that's the main thing that I wanted to offer tonight. We forego the open and we do all the rest of that because I was afraid we're going to run out of time. And you'll be very happy to hear for the entire month, I actually have to hit a call time, Sue, if you're listening. So at 8:29, I'll be texting Wayne going, all right, we're getting ready to go. But what are the stresses in your life? What can you jettison? What's the baggage that you can get rid of? And at times when, all your friends, all the different people that are, you have to do this on your own. No relying. And maybe you and I are addicted to the stress. You know what I mean? Maybe you and I get a little bit of a bump, a little bit of a rush if we're handling these stressful situations. Getting used to the cortisol, getting used to the adrenaline, getting used to the pump. So maybe it takes a little bit to break that addiction. Maybe it's just like heroin. Who knows? But ultimately, if you can break your addiction to the stressors, to the fight, flight, or freeze, I now am absolutely certain. There's always some wiggle room when you talk about philosophy. You go, oh, it could be this, it could be that. I'm absolutely certain that what caused the swelling was the stress. What happens if I was wrong? What happens if I can't get this pulled out of me? What happens if I'm destined to live with this thing my entire life? Someone sent me a memory, I think, of about 5 years ago. I wrote this little thing that when you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't allow anyone else to get underneath it. Well, I haven't been comfortable in my own skin. And I haven't been comfortable in my own skin because my body's busy carrying around a shunt that it doesn't want. And the thought of having that shunt, having that foreign entity removed from me. Now, I'm not saying that if you need a shunt, that you should go, oh, I need to get this out of me. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying, are there things that have you let into your life? Are there invaders? Right? Are there things that you've let into your life? And then it causes the stress, and that stress causes the swelling. Maybe I'm the luckiest guy in the world because, yes, I had a brain tumor. Yes, I've had all these surgeries. Yes, I've had to put up with 2 years of debilitating headaches and, the whole laundry list of crap. But maybe I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I knew exactly where to look for where the swelling was going to present itself because of the stress. But what if you're not as fortunate as I am to have had a brain tumor? What if you're not as fortunate as I have been to go through all the pain that I have in the last 2 point however many years? What if the stress records a swelling in other parts of your body that you have no clue about? So I can't tell you where to look for the swelling, because if it's internal and it's affecting your organs, it's doing any of these other things. But if you alleviate the stress, I'm here to absolutely say 100% unequivocal, don't give a shit about anyone that wants to debate me. Do not care. That when you focus on the stress in your life, your entire body dovetails to want to put your heart's highest priority top of the list. So as we get ready to close this out this evening, as we get ready to toss it over to Thinking Re-Envisioned. Good evening, Chris. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. What are the stresses that you have in your life that could be, maybe it's under the radar. Maybe you don't even know what's happening. Maybe that sense of a chronic illness or a chronic disease or any of these other things. And people say, oh, you don't want to say that it's a cure. You don't want to say that it improves how you don't want to do this. You don't want the Food and Drug Administration to come after you. Well, I can tell you that being the crash test dummy of the last 2.5 years, that the stress absolutely manifests itself in your body. I was fortunate enough to have a golf ball size hole in my head so that I could target where that stress, where that swelling was going to come to. But what's it doing? If you're carrying the baggage, if you're subject to binge thinking, if you're worrying about the committee vote giving you a thumbs up or a thumbs down in your life, you're worried about all of those things. What kind of damage is it recording to your body? What kind of damage is it recording to your philosophy? What kind of damage is it recording to your true potential? And it was easy enough for me to see. Literally staring me right in the back of the head, right? But for you, what could be some of the chronic illnesses that you're subject to because of the stress in your life? And just as importantly, what could you do to go, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm going to do what I have to rid my life of that kind of stress. What do you think that would mean for your body? What would that mean, as I asked earlier, what would that mean for your philosophy? As Mary says, a broken spirit drieth the bones. Broken spirit does everything it can to drain your sense of potential. So, Henry, if you would, do me a favor. I was going to let Wayne know here in about 2 minutes. I was getting ready to cut the signal and go, so if you let him know to get ready. This is really cool. We're going to work out one day where Henry's actually going to be able to come on video. We're going to go, just like you're watching your favorite news show at night. And, one host throws it to another host. We're working on being able to do that, so that's going to be pretty cool. But, Henry, if you would, let Wayne know. I'm about 2 minutes out. So here's the question that I'll leave you with. Especially with all the stress coming up around Election Day. Good golly. Everybody on the left, everybody on the right. This one hates this one hates that one. Saw a young lady got arrested the other day because she threw a hot chocolate on a group of people that didn't believe the same political philosophy. And the question that I would have is, you were granted a human mind, a human ego, a human ability to pull off almost anything, to be mouth-watering to yourself, to have truly unlimited potential, just this side of infinity. And you use that brain, you use that mind to get dragged into the mire and the muck of a political debate? What has happened to you? How is it worth it? I don't suspect it is anymore. I suspect that stress records damage in our body unlike we have any idea. Any idea at all. So in the closing minutes, as we get ready to get out of here, thank you so very much for being so gracious to Henry this last month. Henry, thank you so much. Wayne, thank you so much for everything you did. And again, I think we said, was it 357 maybe is tonight's episode? Thank you, Rita, very much. You rock as well. But thank you for everything in the past month. We'll be back. We'll be doing 30-minute shows. Oh, look at this. It's almost time for me to go. I will see you tomorrow night, Monday through Thursday. We'll talk a little more about what we have planned for the future and how all that's going to unfold. But thank you so very much for joining me here at All Natural Being. See you tomorrow night.
IPMNation.com.